Alright, hello everyone, I'm back from my trip and now I can get to see Cavernous Wailing Egos for Hong Lu and Sinclair. There's going to be a Tef Ego and there's going to be a Zayn, something to actually replace Branch of Knowledge for Sinclair, so that's going to be quite interesting. This Ego seems interesting in that it is introducing a new mechanic to the game, kind of. Is effectively giving us infinite shields as long as we can maintain this blubber bubble on Sinclair. Pretty tricky name to say. This unit does not lose shield, that's the main thing here. At turn end, as long as it has the blubber bubble effect, unless depleted by damage or effect. And if the shield affected by this passive here is going to break, it will inflict a certain amount of potency and count against the attacker. So it's like a sinking based shield that if it gets popped by the enemy, you get to apply back all of that sinking or some certain amount of sinking back to the enemy. So if you're going to keep winning all your clashes with any of the Sinclairs, this is not exactly very useful because this is not going to trigger the potency effect, and the shielding is not very interesting because if you are using people like Saint-Clair, Philip Clair, Nin Clair, they have very good clashing power. So they usually will win their clashes unless it's like, what, really hard fight, MD5, final stage, you have a lot of offense level on the enemy, then maybe he will take some L's now and then. But besides those situations, getting hit right now for Sinclair is not exactly a legit thing unless you maybe use like what, Zoi Sinclair or something, a tank type Sinclair, but I don't think that's actually a legit thing right now. So this effect, while interesting, doesn't have any practical use right now in my opinion, except if you purposely decide to use this ego just so that you will be able to get hit later on by an enemy something, then you can just trigger a bunch of potency or count. Apparently that potency or count is going to be randomly determined, so good old RNG on this blubber bubble. And yeah, the unit can just permanently stack shields while this effect is on. So I'm guessing, right, Sinclair is going to get an ID that will fit this ego, maybe a Dichi archetype, where he will generate a bunch of aggro and he wants to get hit. So I'm going to have to keep a lookout for that kind of ID in the future. Besides that, this shield value cannot exceed a certain percentage of this unit's max HP. So that's really the only other like caveat to this skill pretty much. So interesting, it's just additional shielding, infinite shielding, and if it gets broken by an enemy, maybe you draw a lot of aggro, then you can inflict potency and count back to them. The passive is also nice because if you have a shield, you also gain prot, and if the unit is under blubber bubble, you also get more prot. So yeah, really overall a very tanky ego and definitely meant for a specific ID that is not out yet. So I'm gonna have to wait on that specific ID to come out first because I don't think we have yeah, I can't think of any sinking Sinclair right now. A literal Sinclair. That's not out yet, so we will have to put this guy in the bench for now. I don't think it'll be very useful right now, but could become something quite useful if they release a bunch of sinking related IDs with the release of the Heathcliff big ID at some point, right? Because I think Sinclair, besides Philip, could be up for another sinking ID at some point in the future. Who really knows? But yeah, besides that, nothing else to talk about. It has the same lines as a lot of other skills nowadays. A lot of egos will have resonance minus X attack weight, and then there's a lot of different scalings depending on resonance. So this is definitely going to be some Gloom resonance stuff, pretty much. And there's a lot of lines here that say like if you have the blubber bubble effect, you can increase the blubber bubble effect to a certain amount, and you apply bubble bubble to literally everyone. Yeah, I'm not going to pronounce this anymore, but yeah, pretty much it looks like a team-wide effect to apply this bubble to everyone, and then your whole team will benefit to apply sinking potency if they get hit, pretty much. So not really sure what is the what's the point of this ego right now. Maybe there's specific situations where if the enemy's about to hit you with 7 AoE, then you're just like, okay, we'll just tank it with this one ego, and then we'll nuke him, the boss, with like 99 sinking or some shit like that. Maybe that could be something, but right now, not really much else. I have to wait for the numbers, have to wait for the ID to drop first. Right, moving on to the next one is a very cool art of Hong Lu. I love this pose. This is like like when Guan Yu holds his green dragon blade, right? And like, shit, man, this is damn cool. And then he got the Sans Undertale eye over here. Love it. Right. So this one is not syncing related. It's weird because I thought that this thing would be syncing, but it's like, no, we are going to make it tremor related. But it makes sense, right? The ego gift for the frog does do some tremor stuff, offense level shenanigans, right? But it's also a syncing-ish frog, so yeah, it's fine. We have two different versions of the frog here. And this Honglu ego is gonna be tremor related. And Honglu does not have a single tremor-related ID from what I can recall, which means that he will need a tremor-related ID to come out to kind of make this have a benefit, or maybe you just throw any Honglu into the battle and then you have this ego on standby and just use it to convert the tremor. I don't know what they're trying to cook with this ego, but they're definitely trying something, alright? So, for the Honglu ego, right, what this ego will do is that it will add a new type of color to the tremor called Tremor Reverb. And Reverb looks very spicy to the point that I think that they should be adding a cap to Reverb. Because if they don't add a cap, then this thing will be kind of insane because it's on Tremor Burst, right? You take sloth damage equal to potency, and if there's no cap, right, that means every time you burst, you deal 99 sloth damage to the enemy, which is a lot of damage. So it makes your tremor actually do damage, and it functions a bit similar to something like a WoW Rodion ego, because that will burst the bleed. It can work like a sinking deluge, which bursts the sinking, but in this case it's going to be weaker because it's only the potency. But still, if you can trigger a bunch of tremor bursts on a 99 tremor character, you will be getting a crap ton of damage if this thing has no cap. So I suspect there will be a cap, and if there's no cap, then shit, man, that is going to be a lot of damage. Tremor is gonna suddenly become a big damage dealer just because of this one ego here. And Honglu does not even have a Tremor ID to really do anything with it. But as like basically you just throw any Honglu inside, and then you slap a bunch of other Tremor characters, and that's pretty much your Tremor team. That's how it will go, because this ego, if this Tremor Reverb is as strong as I think it will be, that will be the main team comp for this ego. So yeah. Besides that, this Tremor Burst, this Tremor will function the exact same as regular Tremor. It will just increase stagger threshold as well. It will turn and reduce count by 1. Basically anything that consumes it will just consume this one. It's the same function as Tremor Decay, pretty much. So now we got purple tremor, we got regular tremor, and we got yellow tremor. And then we get red tremor and all the other colors combined or something like that. It become like a literal Undertale where there's a bunch of different colored hearts. So yeah. This Tremor Reverb, definitely quite interesting. We'll have to look forward to see how much this damage is actually going to be. Besides that, nothing else to really talk about, I think, for this ego. Pretty much the only reason to use this ego is to just trigger amplitude conversion to the Tremor Reverb. After that, you have what? Tremor Burst, reduce target's tremor, inflict some extra tremor on top of it. If the target has tremor, then you deal a certain amount more damage, and at highest resonance, you also deal a certain amount more damage, scaling off the tremor potency and count. Nothing else to say about this ego, because the rest of it is pretty straightforward. It's just, if target has a lot of tremor, you get more damage. If you do the resonance, which is going to be sloth, because tremor is related to sloth, then you will get more damage as well. And the passive is nice, except there's no Tremor Honglu, which means that we will be getting a Tremor Honglu, otherwise his passive is useless. Because when this unit uses a skill to trigger Tremor Burst, you will inflict offense and defense level down on the enemy next turn. With Tremor Decay, this might be a little bit insane because you're adding even more defense level down, and it's just a passive furthermore, which means that as long as you're doing it, you will stack your defense level down on top of the Tremor Decay defense level down. And right now there's quite a bit of tremor in the game, so yeah, I don't really know how they want this tremor amplitude conversion stuff to work. Do I have to like go into disorder of tremor? Maybe I need to hit the decay first, get the defense level down, and then after that hit him with the amplitude conversion to reverb, and then just nuke him with a bunch of damage. Or I just swap to the other tremor, and I don't know. I feel like this rainbow stuff is gonna get a little bit out of hand unless there's one big tremor ID that kind of squeezes everything together and makes like it all have some sense, really. Otherwise, it's going to be a very interesting rotation. I don't think it's very powerful, because like you do have to go out of your way to like convert it into Tremor Decay first, then you have to go and convert it with Honglu. You have to make sure Honglu goes after so that he triggers this. It's a lot of setup. So that's why I don't like that all these amplitude conversions on like different people. It's not really conducive. It's not like amplitude conversion like retains some of the other one, right? Like if you could have a little bit of purple, a little bit of yellow, a little bit of regular, for example, maybe you could make it all like combined together to make Tremor into like a really strong combo potential. Like you just build up a bunch of triggers on them, and then you just burst, and then you trigger all of the triggers on the target. Maybe something like that. But right now, the way that Tremor, the amplitude conversion works, right? The way it works is that you pretty much have to convert all of it into the something else. So that's why I don't like the amplitude conversion right now, but hopefully P-Moon cooks really, really hard and makes this kind of interesting, because this artwork is amazing and I would love to use this ego, honestly. It looks so damn good. Right, so nothing else to say about these egos because the IDs for these egos are not yet out. But the ego's existence means that an ID will come out to fit these egos for sure. It's like Shirkov's gun, right? There will be something to use these, otherwise why did you even make these, right? Yep. So that's going to be really it for this review. This is going to be potentially something useful when the ID comes out, and this is going to potentially be something very, very useful, but I don't know if the ID will even be needed, because if you can just do a 99 damage, right, then I would just slap this on any Honglu if I'm running Tremor. So yeah, that is my initial thoughts for these things. We wait for the numbers itself, we wait for the IDs, and then we'll talk about it more. Alright, so that's going to be it for this video. Thanks guys for watching. If I made a mistake, feel free to comment and tell me where I went wrong. Alright, thanks guys. I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.